Welcome to the Denver Animal Protection Updated Procedures for Denver 911 Personnel. We have designed the fewest possible codes to track all of the activities animal protection officers, or APOs, need to be notified of or tracked while doing. They use far more categories in this, but they track it within their own software, separate from CAD, so we are not responsible for knowing the full range of their operation. The codes listed here are designed to be found quickly by using a drop-down with the prefix DAP. The first four will pretty much just be used by operators, while the last will be used as a generic Animal Protection Officer code by dispatchers and DSS. DAP List is a unit name that will be used to dispatch the overnight calls in the morning, and an Animal Protection Officer will call the DSS in the morning for any DAP List call. More on that later. Note that priorities have been selected to set them apart from other calls in the queue. In this case, using P50 and P51 to represent high and low priorities respectively. A new development since we last discussed animal protection during Viper phone training is that Denver Animal Protection has been given its own agency in CAD labeled DAP, just like police, fire, or EMS. This means that each nature code selected by the call taker auto-links an equivalent call in DAP. It also means that if police or any other agency needs to be added to a DAP call, they must be added using Add Agency, whether this is done by a call taker, dispatch support specialist, or dispatcher on the inquiry channel. This is one of the two high-priority nature codes for animal protection officers and represents issues that could compromise an animal's welfare or safety. Animal protection emergencies differ from our usual definition in that they not need to include a threat to a person. A threat to the animal is sufficient. Note the examples listed here: injured, sick, endangered, or trapped animals, both wild and domestic. DAP investigations are also high priorities for APOs, but don't be misled by the term investigation. This often includes maulings and bites or other vicious dog complaints, but could be used for any in-progress emergency that doesn't fall into another code. One way to think about this is that these are threats to people, whereas the former are threats to the animal. DAP aggressive bite would be investigation if they were in progress, but because they're cold, they will not be treated as emergencies for animal protection officers. Similar incidents are involved, however. The key feature is the time frame. These are fairly straightforward. DAP loose dog and contained stray works both for strays running at large and for those found and being kept by an RP. Note that dogs running at large are an appropriate call, but there isn't a leash law for cats, so animal protection officers don't respond on reports of cats running at large. Actually, animal protection officers don't respond on cats in custody either, although the RP can drop them off at the shelter. DAP follow-up is a self-initiated action used by DSS anytime an animal protection officer lets them know that they are doing something. They'll usually call out at a location right on the DAP car-to-car channel, but may call out en route to a location instead of arriving themselves there. Some of the examples include inspections, again self-initiated investigations, follow-ups on barking dogs, etc. RPs with animal-related questions, seeking information, or calling about barking dogs will be transferred to the DAP, Denver Animal Sanctuary Customer Care Support telephone line at 720-337-1810, where they can leave a message. Transfers to DAP work 24/7. There is a whole new guide to give ideas of where and when to refer a caller to other services when DAP doesn't handle that type of call. The general information is listed on this slide, but is also available on the Animal Referrals Reference Guide in Power DMS. Basically, you'll have APOs hanging out on the Denver Animal Protection car-to-car channel, monitored by DSS. The DSS will assign them their calls on the channel, but if they need to correspond with police, they'll have the APO switch to the relevant district channel. Typically, there will be 3 APOs for the city, so the districts are paired, and as you can see, they'll have new unit numbers, Frank 1 through Frank 18. For all self-initiated, regardless of what they call it, the DAP follow-up will be the nature code selected. Remember that because APOs are in the DAP agency, not the police agency, they will need to be added using Add Agency, which is different than what we initially thought you would do. This change was necessitated by a variety of factors. Another process to be aware of is that we will be conducting status checks on APOs, namely at the first 10-minute mark, and then every 20 minutes thereafter. Simple wording such as checking status Frank 17 would be suffice. Dispo-wise, they're not tracking the disposition codes, and we've also basically run out of characters to use, so there are no new dispo codes. Simply make it a file only unless they're assisting PD, EMS, or fire, in which case it's a backup. Note also that there is nothing changed with help calls, except that can call for code 10 cover right on the channel. APOs are absolutely qualified for emergency assistance, just as they have been in the past. As APOs now have new unit numbers, Frank 1 through Frank 18, Frank 99 is the new Frank 11. DSS will monitor the car-to-car talk group that Animal Protection lives on and will be responsive to any requests. They're also the ones who will let them know when they ask what's holding, as well as be the ones who dispatch their calls to them on DAP car-to-car. Additionally, they will instruct Animal Protection officers to switch to the appropriate PD dispatch primary channel when corresponding with DPD. Emergency callouts are from 2100 through 0600. Once approved by a patrol supervisor, advise the operations supervisor, who will then contact the on-call Animal Protection officer. Emergency Animal Protection officer response includes, but not limited to, bats and wildlife in home, injured animals on property, highway or main streets where officer is standing by, reports of abuse, neglect, or cruelty to an animal, impounding of pets when the owner is being arrested, reports of an animal bite that just occurred or are in progress. ECTs will process non-emergency calls as normal, but advise callers after hours that the incident will be put on a list and provided to DAP in the morning. In this way, the ECT can put the call on the list and not further frustrate the caller by sending them to a voicemail. The Animal Protection officer coming on duty the following morning will call DSS for any calls on the DAP list to respond to. Here you'll find the new or updated guide supporting the Denver Animal Protection procedures. Take some time in Power DMS to familiarize yourself with them. If you have any questions, please contact your supervisor, manager, or member of the training department. Thank you.